for a few people to tune in, and then we'll get started. Welcome everyone. Wait for a few people to tune in, and then we can have a chat about the ins and outs, and we'll talk about the Sydney game and how I'm feeling about it, how you're feeling about it. Make sure to comment and let me know how you're feeling about it. Jack, hey mate, how you going? Not too bad. I'm enjoying seeing that, from what I saw, Carlton kicked the first 5 goals against Hawthorn, and now they're losing. So it's that's a good start to the weekend. G'day guys, g'day Sarah, g'day Connor, welcome. Interesting doing it on a Friday night again. I thought the teams might have been out yesterday, but I think the new rule is now you can go until the day before a game. So for anyone that's confused as to why I'm doing the live on a Friday night, it's because the teams only just came out at 6:20, and thus we're here and we're talking. So if you've got any comments, you want to talk about anything in particular, make sure to mention it here, and we'll have a chat. Understand it's Friday night, so everyone's got some plans other than just watching me. So I reckon we'll get straight into it. Marcus has got, hey Jake, happy with the team, need to stop Papley and Luke Parker. The rest is easy. Not a bad shout there, to be honest, Marcus. I've got Sydney's lineup here in front of me, and yeah, if you had to pick 2, danger players for the opposition that you kind of need to quell in order to get the chocolates, you probably need to stop Papley, and you probably need to stop Luke Parker. I don't know how much influence anyone can have on Luke Parker. He's that sort of midfielder that he always finds the ball. He's that sort of midfield bull that, I haven't seen him struggle with the tag, so I don't know if it's worth putting Jack Steele onto someone like Luke Parker. I think even if Luke Parker has a great game, but we generally kind of control everything around him, including Papley, that, as good as he's going to be, I don't think it's going to be enough to beat us. I think if we have as good a team performance as we did last week, I think we should win, and we should win comfortably. Bit wary about that because I said the exact same thing going into the Fremantle game, and we all know what happened there. But I thought it was interesting in the podcast this week. Marshy mentioned that maybe there's a bit of a silver lining to the Fremantle loss. Maybe it was a loss that we needed to have. Maybe it was a wake-up call, an official punch in the face in the morning, just waking you up saying, you know what, that's never going to happen again. And tomorrow's going to be interesting because we've seen in the last couple of weeks, we've battled 2 decent teams in their own way. Adelaide, haven't won a game, and they were in front of their home fans, and they're struggling, and they were up and about, prime time, and then you play the top team, and you beat them on their home deck in a really, really impressive, finals-like performance. And then you see what that top team does to someone that doesn't do that pressure, like Melbourne yesterday, and they kill them. So, if anything, last week's win was, season-defining, but I almost think the Fremantle loss could be equally as defining as that win. And I think, playing a Sydney team, very similar sort of, issue for them as it was with Fremantle. They've got a lot of injuries, and I think Stu's just mentioned there, no excuses this week, and I agree. A team missing Heaney, missing Kennedy, missing Franklin. They've got a lot of stars missing, and you look at some of these names. This is their backline, guys. They've got Dawson. Rampy, but he's got a broken hand, and I'm surprised that he's even playing, to be honest. It's going to be risky him playing with a broken hand on Max King. If anyone gets physical with Rampy, I was saying to Joycey before, just accidentally jump on his hand or just push it or hit it or whatever, just hurt it because he's playing injured, and it's a huge risk for Sydney. Clearly shows their lack of depth at the moment with the amount of injuries they've got. They can't afford to lose more players, so looks like Rampy's going to try and pull through. They've got Alir there. They've got Jake Lloyd, who's very good. He's a good rebounder. Robbie Fox, who I've not heard of, and then you've got Callum Mills. So you've got Callum Mills and Jake Lloyd, more rebounding, and then you've got Rampy, who's really the main full back there. And I think he's going to have his hands full against someone like Max King, who I think everyone's waiting for that game, aren't they? Everyone's waiting for that breakout game that Max King, when is he going to kick 5? He's clunking 1 or 2 marks here and there, and he's looking like he's about to break a game open, but he hasn't just done it yet. I think this could be the game. And again, I've said this every week. Again, I've said Max King to kick 5, but he's always looking like he's about to break the game open. I think that's that's credit to him because every week he shows something. You know, there's not a game that goes by where you miss a Max King big mark or a good King goal. You know, he's done it in every week. He's at least taken a big mark or kicked a goal or two. Impressive. 11 goals in his first 8 career games. That's super impressive for a 19 or 20-year-old footballer. You know, in terms of the ins and outs, I haven't even gone over those yet, but if you look at it, you've got Josh Battle in. For anyone that's just tuned in, Josh Battle is in, and then you've got Dean Kent who's out. And Dean Kent is not omitted. It does say illness, which is interesting because anything that kind of resembles an illness these days, you automatically think, shit, that's COVID-19, that's coronavirus. So hopefully in terms of illness, it's just, I don't know, he's just not feeling well, or is it feeling a bit, I don't know, he had bad sushi for lunch and he's got a bit of food poisoning, you don't know, but it's a bit of a disappointing one because I thought he battled well last week. You know, there were a lot of passages of play that he was involved in. He kicked a goal, laid a few good tackles. The passage where he was actually still injured and he still went for the ball and created a contest. Those are the sort of selfless acts that everyone was doing last week and I fully expect to do tomorrow because tomorrow is as important as playing the top team. I think that's something we should have learned in the loss to Fremantle is that we don't have to be just up for the top teams. We have to be up just because we're playing footy and we should be happy and pumped to get more wins on the board. So I'm hopeful that we go in with that sort of mentality. In terms of midfield, our biggest issue is probably Luke Parker. They're very inexperienced in the rest of it. Callum Sinclair is going to be their main ruck, maybe with Alir jumping in there if he needs a bit of a hit out there just to have a bit of a rest. But going in with Paddy Ryder and Rowan Marshall in the form that they were in last week, Callum Sinclair is going to have his absolute hands full. If those two can get on top early, our midfield is going to have a field day. I think, you know, in the podcast I said Gresham, this is going to be another game where he takes it to the next level in the midfield, gets a lot of the ball, hopefully kicks a few goals, that'd be nice. Tim Membry hitting some form last week. All of these, Brad Hill hit some form last week. We just need Jack Billings and Seb Ross to do what they need to do every week. Zach Jones against his old team, which is going to be really interesting to see how he goes. He's been one of the finds of the season for us. Dan Butler, he's kicked 15 goals, and then you've got Battle coming in, and I think that stretches them. You look at their backline, and their team in general is not a tall team. I looked at the weather for tomorrow. The weather in Brisbane is 22 and sunny, guys. So it's going to be dry, it's going to be fast, and that means a lot of opportunity for our forwards to take a lot of contested marks. We only took 4 last week. Which was our lowest for the season, which didn't matter because it was more of a ground ball sort of game. We kicked a lot of goals from the ground, but I think against Sydney, we're probably going to have them at ground ball too. They've got a few good small defenders like Dawson, like Lloyd and Mills that are good beneath their knees. But I think in the air you've got King, Membry, you've got Paddy Ryder and Rowan Marshall resting there. You've got Battle who's come in. So that's going to stretch them. I can't see how we don't kick a winning score here. I mean, I think it's going to be more to do with Sydney playing exceptionally well than anything. I'm not trying to be arrogant, but I think that, you know, I would not be surprised if we absolutely smash them tomorrow. I think Sydney's a team where, yes, you know, they're one of those teams that no matter where they are on the ladder, they're always going to be in games. They're always going to be challenging because they're, you know, the blood spirit. They're just one of those teams like Geelong where no matter how shit they are, they're always, you know, any chance in any game. That's the sort of club they've built. That's their history. That's their identity. But I think, you know, for us to move forward, we need to break those barriers. In the last 2 weeks, we've ticked off 2 great boxes. We've beaten 2 teams we haven't beaten in 7 or 8 seasons. We haven't beaten Sydney, I think, since 2012, 2013. So this is another one of those monkey off the back moments. If we get through this, then we move on to Gold Coast, and then I think it's Geelong. So those are 2 more winnable games there. And this will get us to 6-3, which I think is the most important thing to take from this. Is this gets us to 6-3, and that means that we probably need only 4 more wins out of the next 8 or 9 games to guarantee or to just scrape into the top 8. I think 10 to 11 wins is easily enough to make finals in this sort of close season because a lot of teams are taking points off each other. There's no dominant runaway team at the moment, apart from Port Adelaide, who's a couple of games on top. So this is, you know, it'd be great to have a big win because I feel like we've had the makings of a lot of big wins. We smashed Richmond for a lot of the part of that game. Didn't really win by a lot in the end. Bulldogs was the same. Last week we ran away with it, and that was the most pleasing thing. Was it wasn't a first or second quarter blitz that got the job done. We kind of kept building towards a blitz. We started well. Port hit back. They hit back even harder in the third term. But then when we got things on our terms in the last, we went for the jugular. We went for the kill, and that's something that I have said. That St Kilda teams have lacked in years gone by is that ruthlessness, that kill mentality. That when a team's there to be smashed and they're on their knees, you don't just sit back and go sorry, or get complacent and just say, the job's done, whatever. We'll win by 4 goals. It doesn't matter if it's not 10 goals. This team looks like it's a team that wants to win games by a lot. And we're doing it quickly. Out of the blue last week, we kicked 5 goals in a row against the top team in front of their home fans. I think tomorrow at the Gabba, it's going to suit us. It's a big ground. I looked at the dimensions during the week, and it's a bit bigger than Marvel. I think it's got a lot of width on the wings, which means that a lot of switches of play, a lot of open running, a lot of handballs, and forward chains that could really hurt Sydney. Because if we get on the front foot and we start running, and we have the belief and we have the fitness to not stop and the mentality to not get complacent, this could be our biggest win of the year. And I'm firmly tipping us. I think it's going to be over 20 points. But at the end of the day, I will just take the win because it's Sydney. They're one of our bogey teams, and you don't know how they're going to be. They did beat a shitty Hawthorn last week, let's face it, but they're 3-5. They've won 3 games. They're not dog shit. They're not a terrible team. They know how to win games. But it could give them confidence. A win like last week could give them confidence. But the fact that it's at the Gabba, we've got all this momentum. A pretty damn strong team on the field, I think. It's a bit disappointing that Kent's had to come out, but it is what it is. And it's still a good enough team to get the chocolates, I think. But enough from me. Let's go through some of these comments. And then I'll let you guys enjoy the rest of your Friday night before you see me tomorrow, hopefully, to talk about another win. Christos says King to kick 6. Geez, that'd be beautiful. Paul says glad Hind and Parker not dropped. Have a really fast team in at the moment, which is great. Sydney are slow. I agree. I think it would have been really harsh to drop either Hind or Parker right after they've just come in for their first game in a long time. I think that they both did really nice things. Obviously, Hind kicked that great goal. They give us speed. Parker just creates this inferred pressure. It's just his presence that causes problems. He's big, he's fast, and he's frenetic. And I think those 3 things are always dangerous when you're an opposition defender and you see him manning up on you. It's going to scare them. And that's another thing. I mentioned that they're not a big backline, Sydney. He's over 6 foot, Parker. So he's considered one of our smalls, but he's actually quite a big player. So he could easily take a rampy, and then that releases Max King. That gives Membry more space. That means Marshall and Ryder can roam there and stretch them even more. Battle goes down there. They're going to have their hands massively full in that back line, and they're going to have to be switched on to stop us kicking a big score, I think. What else we got? Guy, hi buddy, riding on a high, hoping to have the string of wins to continue. Oh, by the way, you are echoing. That's not good. Sorry about that. String of wins, that's a good point. So I think if we win tomorrow, that means that it's going to be the first time in about 3 years since we've won 3 or more games in a row, guys. So this is a milestone game in more ways than one. It means we're 6-3, means we're probably top 4 again for another week. It also means we beat Sydney for the first time in 7 years. And it also means that we've won 3 games for the first time since 2017. It's a long time coming. We didn't even do it last year when we started on fire. Jordan says, obviously a great win last week. If we play our way, then we should comfortably win. Just can't get complacent. Good point. Christos says, steal for the Brownlow. Connor says, Bytel and Burns have to be in the next game with small turnaround. Guaranteed. I think that's a lock. I think Burns and Bytel will play against Gold Coast. Although it's still going to be a very difficult game. Gold Coast are very good. It's at Metricon where they play really well. So I don't think we can get it too lightly. If anything, maybe Bytel gets his debut and then we save Burns for the Geelong game. Who knows? Jessica says, let's just get to this. Still celebrating last week's win. Same. Hope we come out strong and keep up the pressure the whole game tomorrow. Need to capitalize on our momentum. Great point. Especially when, we've got a decent run of games here, winnable games. We're going to cop, West Coast and West Coast and Brisbane's, these teams that we haven't played yet. So we need to bank a lot of wins now, and then that makes, playing these top teams probably less important. We still obviously want to beat those teams, but I think it puts less pressure on us to have to get the win. even though, we obviously want to win every game that we play. Ryan's asking, where do you see Battle fitting into the team? I think he could be a tall wing / half forward, but I think it depends on the way the game's going. If Sydney are on form and our backline needs a bit of support, I can see him going there. But most notably, I think dropping Kent and bringing Battle in, I think he's going to play forward, and I think he's just going to stretch their backline. He's mobile. He can run all day long. He's a great kick. He's a big body. He can play anywhere. He can play anywhere but ruck, I think. Put him on the wing, put him in the middle if we need a big body in there. Backline for support, forward line to stretch. So he's very versatile, and it's very handy for a game like this where we can be on the front foot. We're not going to have to be against last week. We had to be defensive at times and know when to attack. In this game, obviously we can't attack full throttle the whole game, but we want to be on the front foot most of the game, and I think having Battle in kind of invites that even more. What are your thoughts of another trade raid? Oh, well, I think you guys might have seen my post earlier today. I posted Josh Kelly from GWS in a Saints kit. Looks pretty good in a Saints kit, may I say. I think he's not a restricted free agent until next season, but like Brad Hill, he's got time on his contract. But if we go there, front load the contract and offer him a lot of money, I think he will accommodate and top off that midfield perfectly. We still lack an absolute A-grade superstar in the midfield. Brad Hill's a wingman. I think Kelly at the centre bounces and around clearances would be unbelievable with Zach Jones and the rest of the guys in there, Jack Steele as well. He's good mates with Jack Steele, so there's a little GWS connection there. And I think we've been going for him for a long time, or at least I've heard we've been interested in him for a long time. And he's got a place in Brighton. He bought a place in Brighton, not too far from Moorabbin, so there's every chance that if, he has to live here, that Moorabbin's not too far for training for him, which would be handy. But there's a lot of good players out there that we could go for, but he would be my front runner. It's about time we beat the Swans from Caroline. Matt says, Geary to Papley, thinking Members is due for a bag. He's looking likely, especially after last week's freakish performance, that goal he kicked. And I think, Geary to Papley. Although, some people have said Wilkie. I think Wilkie might be a bit too slow in terms of mobility, but Wilkie's done a job on everyone he's had to this season, so I wouldn't put it past him or even Ben Patton. Ben Patton's got the speed, he's mobile, and he's disciplined. You don't see him giving away too many shitty free kicks. I think giving him the challenge, he could do a good job on Papley. And it shows the faith that we have in our youngsters. When did we last beat the Swans? I'm going to take a guess and say around 2013. I'm pretty sure I was there, and I think it was when Malira and Sard killed them. I think it was our speed that killed them. I think we had Cripps at the time, who's now at West Coast Premiership player, which hurts. But it's been that long. Carlos says, Papley no goals, show them that he's not that good. Get off their scratcher. Don't know what that means. Cameron says, interesting they aren't resting Ross, knowing we have a few big weeks coming up. I think they might rest him against Gold Coast, but he may just be fit. Maybe they don't need a rest. I mean, the fact that, every team is just going to rest players for the sake of it, I don't think you need to. Players will, Rat said, we'll ask the team, how are you feeling? Do you need a rest? Are you physically okay? If everyone says, yep, I'm pumped, I'm ready to go, and they're training well, you're not going to drop them, especially with the way we're playing. So you'd expect players that need a rest, that are fatigued, will put their hand up and say, look, I'm not feeling 100% this week, Rats. Any chance I could have a breather before we play Geelong and Essendon. So it'll be interesting next week what we do, because every game is going to be a tough one. Duncan says, go Saints, pressure and more pressure this week. Great show as always, Jake. Thanks, Duncan. Thanks for watching. This one's from Lucas. Gotta love how Marshall's directional taps have improved since Ryder has come to the Saints. Once the confirmed news on Kent, is he injured or out with illness, is what I've heard. So, but good call on Marshall. I've noticed that he's not just going there and hitting it. He dominates the other ruckman, but sometimes I feel like he doesn't take that dominance to advantage with his taps. But lately, there's been a few really nice taps over 2 or 3 opposition plays to a player running past, like a Gresh on the far side, which shows a lot of awareness and a lot of tactical prowess. He's not just tapping directly, he's going for these long ones over the top, breaking the shackles. So I think that's something that Paddy Ryder's definitely influenced on Rowan Marshall. Kent is big news. He's essential part of the forward line from Guy. I agree, but I think we've got the depth to cover him. We've still got Butler there. You've got Brad Hill's listed in the forward line, which is interesting, so I don't know if he's going to go there at all. But then you've got Gresham, Sinclair can play there, and you've got Nick Hind and Matty Parker who can play there and put on pressure. So I think we've got more than enough coverage in terms of forward line pressure. Why didn't Kent share his sushi with Seb? That's a bit harsh, but yeah, probably a good point. Be funny if it was actually sushi that caused the illness. Stu said, thought we might be conservative with Ross and his tight calf, especially against a weakened opposition. Probably, but again, there's docs in Noosa. They would have tested him. They would have checked on him. He would have said that he's fine. So there's many factors before they just play him. So I trust that he's fit and he's ready to go. Or he's just saying, look, I'll play this week. Just rest me against the Gold Coast. It may be that. There may be a plan. Maybe he knows he'll be rested in a week's time, and that's why he's going to go hard tomorrow. Big game expected from Gresham this week, and expect Billings to step up again. He's a gun and does his job each week. Good comment again, Guy. Billings is just Mr. Reliable now, isn't he? He just gets the job done. He's quiet. We don't rely on him to dominate for us to win. He's just another really good contributor to a really good team at the moment. It's team performances that are getting the job done. We're not really relying on one or two stars. Whereas I think Sydney tomorrow, they're going to be relying heavily on Parker and Papley, and if we can stop them, then I think we get the 4 points. Eon says it's the kind of game where you need to be getting a percentage boost with the congestion in the middle of the table. I agree with that, especially with a few of the top teams around us getting some big wins lately. Tom says, hadn't beaten Port Adelaide in 9 years, haven't beaten Swans in 8, making up for a good 26 years. Chris says, hey mate, why do you think Bytel is not getting a look in? Probably saving him, maybe saving him for when Ross or someone like that, because Ross plays that similar role inside sort of mid. Bytel, from what I've heard, is very much the same way. Not the fastest player, but he's got quick hands and he gets in and under. So I think, if anything, I wouldn't be surprised to see Ross rested for the Gold Coast game on Thursday night next week, and then debut Bytel against a younger midfield and see how he goes there. So that's not... I think it might be in the plans. Wouldn't surprise me. We just need to absorb their pressure game. That's from Gary. Gut feeling we win by 15 points. Jeez, I want it to be more than that. Sean says we should murder them in the ruck, then clearances, and that means more inside 50s, more pressure for their defence, hopefully more turnovers, equaling more goals. So it could be a goal fest. That's what I'm looking for. James says, don't want to look into the crystal ball too much, but what position do you think we finish? I reckon we can finish 4th. I reckon we can sneak the top 4. We win the games we need to, like these ones tomorrow, and then we pinch one against a West Coast or maybe a Brisbane, Geelong even. The teams around us, and I think we can sneak 4th or 5th. I think top 6 is definitely on the cards. What do we got? Can't drop a game like this one. That's from Sean. Bytel on the emergency list. It'd be interesting if Ross could well be laid out. It could be every chance there. Maybe Battle can develop into a Paddy McCartan from Ian. Ben says, love your work, legend, and all the boys on the podcast. Thanks, Ben. I'll pass that on to Marshy and Joycey. Thanks to everyone who's tuned in, by the way, to the Saints TV podcast. Last week's episode was the most ever listened episode, which is amazing, and already the episode from this week is nearly beaten that. So the last 2 weeks, those episodes have been the most listened we've ever done, and we've done 20 so far. So thanks to everyone for watching that. It's been awesome to talk to these guys and share this sort of content with you. Tim says, desired outcome from the next few weeks in terms of expectations. Beat the Swans, beat Gold Coast, beat Geelong, go into the Essendon game full of confidence. That's what I want. I think we can win all of them. And last comment, Mitchell says Kent's got knee soreness. So they've said illness. It's probably that knee injury that he copped when Ross handballed to him at his ankles, and that caused all sorts of problems. But he played the game out, clearly not fit enough. I'm curious if Kent was fit. If he had have played, maybe Ross then comes out. But I don't know if they wanted to rest both Kent and Ross in the same week. It could well have worked. You bring in Battle and you bring in Bytel against the Swans. That could have worked, but I'm going to trust Rats' judgment. How can we not trust the coaching staff? They've nailed it the last few weeks. since the Fremantle game, and the team's responded big time. So I'm fully expecting a really good performance tomorrow at the Gabba, where we haven't played in ages. A big ground. It's going to be dry. We're tall. Sydney are undermanned. We need to go and get the job done and smash them. That's what I fully expect. So I'll leave it there, guys. Thanks again for watching. Again, if you haven't listened to the podcast, tune in. It's on Spotify, Apple, Saints TV podcast. Have a listen. Give us a rating if you like, and help us create history and make it the most listened episode so far. We're very close to doing that. And if you want to rewatch this, it'll be on Facebook, also YouTube, and you can search that on Saints TV and subscribe if you haven't already. I think we're about 16 subscribers off 1,000 on YouTube, which is awesome. So thanks again, guys. I'll leave you to enjoy the rest of your Friday. Take care, stay healthy, and I'll see you tomorrow afternoon, hopefully to talk about a big win over the Swans. Go you Sainers.